Hello everyone and welcome to my Disney World planning series. Today we are going to be talking about when is the best time for you and your family or your group that you're traveling with to visit Disney World. And obviously this is not a one size fits all best time to visit because there are so many variables that go into when is the best time for your group. So let's get into it. So there are going to be two different groups that we're going to be talking about. Group one is going to be those people that have limitations on when they can visit. And the biggest one is needing to travel during school breaks. Maybe you have a teacher in your group. Maybe you don't want to take your kids out of school. So obviously this is going to limit the times of year that you are able to travel. That goes spring break, summer break, Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, anytime that your kids or your teacher in your group is not in school or working. So if this is you, my suggestion is going to be to go during summer break, unless you really have it in your heart that you want to go during the holiday season. My reason for this is during summer, yes, it is very hot. It is very hot. It rains every day, but it's going to be less crowds and less money. So when I was growing up, we went to Disney World almost every year, and every year we went at the end of August. And let me tell you, it was hot, but we loved it. We had an amazing time, whether it was hot or not. We live in New York. We are not used to this kind of heat, but we still had an amazing time. So if you go prepared, knowing that it is going to be hot and it is going to rain every day that you are there, and yes, it is hurricane season, you can still have an amazing time and save some money and go during a less crowded time of year. If you're going to go during spring break, everybody's going during that 1 week in the fall. In the spring. Everyone is going during that 1 week. Everyone's trying to cram in their vacation in that 1 week. So it's going to be super crowded and very expensive. And the same goes for Thanksgiving break and Christmas break as well. And like I said, if you are really wanting to go during the holiday season, my suggestion is to do Thanksgiving break as opposed to Christmas break, because you still get all the holiday decorations in the parks. Majority of the resorts will be decorated by that time. They should all be decorated by the end of that week. It is through a lottery system, so there's no way to know which resorts are going to be done at what time every year. So, but most of them should be done during that time, so you can still go see the gingerbread houses and all the other decorations during that time. The only thing that you won't get is the Festival of the Holidays at Epcot. So if you're okay with missing out on that, I would suggest using Thanksgiving break as opposed to Christmas break. There is something to be said about spending Christmas in Disney World. I'm sure it's amazing. I've never done it. There's no way I could do those crowds. You would really have to go with the expectations that you might not be able to get everything done that you want to get done. And if you want to just be there to be there for Christmas, then by all means go stay until, New Year's Eve and see the amazing fireworks. If that is the reason for going, then go ahead and do that. But just know ahead of time that your expectations need to be a little bit lowered on whether you're going to get all the rides that you want to get. I mean, this past year, all the lightning lanes were sold out. It was very hard to get any rides in, especially the bigger rides. So just know that going in. So to bring it back, if you do have to limit your time to school breaks, I would highly suggest the summer. And if you go in prepared, Stay on property so that you can easily get back to your resort in the middle of the day, go swimming for a little bit, cool down, book those lunch reservations at a table service so that you can get into the air conditioner, take a break for a little while. You'll be fine. You can do it, and it'll cost you less money and be less crowded. So the second group of people are the ones that have no limitations on when they can go, when they can travel. So this obviously, you just have to look and see what your priorities are for going. Is it better weather? Is it lower crowds? Is it less expensive? Because unfortunately, you're not going to get really all three of those: the least expensive time, less crowds, and amazing weather. You're not going to be able to get all three of those in one time of the year. So you're going to have to figure out what is your priority when it comes to those things. So I'm just going to, I actually have some notes right here because I didn't want to forget anything, but I'm just going to quickly run through the main things about each time of the year. So in January, your after hours events are going to return because there's no longer the holiday parties during the fall season. So your after hours events are going to return. One thing that you need to look out for in January is marathon weekend. And this tends to be very, very crowded. Lots of people like to do the marathon. So, it's busy. It's a busy time of year. You have Martin Luther King Jr. weekend as well. Some people like to fit in weekend trips, during school breaks, short, long weekend school breaks. So that's a busier time. It's not going to be as busy as like spring break or Thanksgiving break, but it'll be a little bit more crowded. So if that's, if you want to do a long weekend, during a school break, I think going during a holiday weekend is fine. Especially like the last year or so, they haven't been insanely crowded. It's been more of the week-long breaks that have been most crowded. So that's what you're going to look for. Also in January starts the Epcot Festival of the Arts. Usually starts towards, maybe like the middle to the end of January. So there's going to be those couple of weeks in January in the beginning with no festival. So if you really want to go during an Epcot festival, that's something to think about. Those, keep track of when those festivals start. This one usually starts in the middle to end, like I said. So, and also January is going to be probably your coolest month weather-wise. So that's, if you really want to go during the cool weather, January is probably going to be your best bet. February actually starts to, a little bit creep up in the weather. But also what you're going to get in February is a continuation of the Festival of the Arts in Epcot. That goes to usually about the end of the month. You're still going to have your after hours party events, and February also has the Princess Half Marathon. That's usually towards the end of the month as well. And like I said, those can, it's just something to think about. It'll be a little bit more crowded. So if you're not planning on it and you're wondering why all of a sudden it's really crowded during this time, that could be why. Then we're going to get into March, and this is when weather starts to warm up a little bit. March is actually beautiful weather, 80s, low 80s, and it's very nice time of the year. This is when the International Flower and Garden Festival starts in Epcot, usually at the very beginning of the month. So there might be like a few days of no festival when Festival of the Arts ends and this one begins. So again, if you want to do a festival, just keep your eye on those dates. That you're also going to get your after hours. So another thing to think about during February and March is this is when Disney hosts a lot of cheerleading competitions. This isn't really going to affect the parks as much as the value resorts. They tend to kind of take over the all-star resorts. So if you are a family that likes to stay at the All-Stars, this is something to think about. Not only will you maybe not find a room, but it's going to be a little bit more loud and, a lot of teenagers and, younger kids running around. And so it's just something something to think about. I'm sure they do go to the parks, but they're mostly focused on their competition. So, you'll see them throughout the parks every now and then, but it's not like a mass, like, going to be super crowded because of them. So moving on into April. So now we're getting into spring, and this is again really beautiful weather time of year. In April, obviously you have to worry about spring break week. If you are not going for spring break week, do not go during spring break week. Do not go during Easter week. It is going to be insanely crowded that week. So if you don't have to go during a spring break or a school break, avoid Easter week. They also have the Run Disney Springtime Surprise Marathon weekend. That is, again, I can't tell you what the dates are for those. Those are different every year, but that's usually around the time that they have it. They also still have their after hours events. Can't remember if I said that for March, but they do have the after hours parties pretty much through the entire spring. Okay, so getting into May, this is going to be still the Flower and Garden Festival in Epcot. You're still going to have your after hours events. And you're also going to have Memorial Day weekend, another long holiday weekend that you might see a little bit of uptick in crowds. But like I said before, it's not going to be tremendous. So, this is another great time to go if you need to do school breaks. Obviously it's not a week, so if you're far away, it's kind of hard to justify going for just a couple of days. But if you live nearby and you want to go for the weekend, a holiday weekend isn't going to be horrible. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more crowded, but it's not going to be spring break crowded. So May still has the after hours events, and this is when it starts to get hot. By the end of May, you're really looking at very hot, humid weather. And that brings us into June, which is the start really of like the summer season in Florida. It's going to be hot, humid. There's still, the Flower and Garden Festival runs through the very, very beginning of June. It might not even go into June some years. So again, something to think about if you want to go during a festival. June still has after hours events. And that's really June, July, and August. I'm going to kind of clump those together because it's summer and there's not really a lot of events going on. There is no Epcot festival during the summer months. Sometimes Food and Wine will start at the end of August. Sometimes it will start in July. I know in the past it started at the end of July, and a lot of people were very upset when they changed that this past year to start at the end of August. So that's definitely something to think about. If you can only go during summer break and you want to also hit up the Food and Wine Fest, end of August is going to be your best bet to try to get that. I mean, you might not even get that. I don't know when it's going to start this year in 2025, but that is something to think about, is that they don't have a lot of special events going on except for 4th of July fireworks. They still have the after hours events through the summer, so that is still something that you can do. But like I've said before, you're going to have less crowds and it's going to be a little bit less expensive. So that is going to be, and then in August, the end of August, a lot of times Halloween season starts. So you might be able to do some Halloween parties at the end of August. But mostly it's going to be throughout September. So August and September are going to be your least expensive time of the year and less crowded time of the year. September, kids go back to school. So a lot of people, they're not going to take their kids out in the beginning of September. Some might take them out, getting closer to the end. So if you really want to have the lowest crowds and least expensive time, it's going to be late August into early September. Labor Day weekend, you'll see a little bit of an uptick, but it's not going to be a lot because people are not going to travel when their kids are first going to school, at least not a lot. So, Labor Day weekend, you might get some locals that come or people nearby, but it's not going to be super crazy. So that's a really great time to come, is beginning of September. you know, if you don't have to worry about school breaks, that is going to be probably the least crowded time that's out of August. I mean, it's still going to be very, very hot. It really is very, very hot until the end of September. But I mean, anything, once you get out of the end of August, it's going to slightly cool down a little bit. You're still going to be in hurricane season. It's still going to rain a ton. But again, like I said, it's going to be less crowded and less expensive. So through September, you're going to have a couple of more Run Disney events, marathon events. Food and wine is going to be going on. Halloween parties are going to be going on. And then we're going to be going into the fall season, which is really like holiday central. You have Halloween, and then November 1st, after Halloween, is Christmas season. And that goes from the beginning of November all the way till the end of December. And you're going to have your Christmas parties and all of these special Christmas time decorations and events that go on during that time of year. This is going to be, the weather is going to cool down a little bit, but it's going to be very busy and more expensive to stay during that time of year. There is something to be said about going during the holidays. It's going to be amazing. My family, we really want to see the holiday decorations. So we're going to try to avoid the Thanksgiving week and the Christmas week crowds because we do homeschool. So we don't have to worry about taking our kids out of school. So at the end of November, usually like the day after Thanksgiving or shortly after Thanksgiving, you are going to get the Epcot International Festival of the Holidays. And this is the shortest festival that Epcot has. It only runs from the very end of November through December. So it's really only about a month. So if you really want to check out the Festival of the Holidays, you really only have December as being an option of when to go. So if that is something that you want to check out, definitely try to go, before Christmas break. The closer that you get to Christmas, the more crowded and expensive it's going to get. So that is definitely something to think about. So we have gone through the entire year of special events and other things to choose from. So now it's really up to you and to what your family wants to do, what their priorities are. So talk amongst each other, get ideas of what it is that everybody wants to do. Maybe they want to do a certain festival during Epcot. Maybe they want to go during holiday season. Maybe they really want better weather. So this is just something to think about, that it really is going to depend on all of those things, and everybody is going to have different priorities. So if you can nail that down, and once you get that in your mind of when you want to go, is when you can really start to think about other options, like where you're going to stay and all those things. Because sometimes if you want to stay at a certain time of year that might be a little bit more expensive, you might need to then budget down for your resort. Maybe normally you stay at a deluxe resort, and because you're traveling at a more expensive time of the year, you might need to bring that down to be a moderate resort, or, maybe you do less table dining, or, whatever it is. But that's what I mean when I say priorities. If your priority is to stay at a deluxe resort and to eat at table service restaurants, you might want to go at a cheaper time of the year so that you don't have to worry about budgeting for those types of things. So that's just something to think about. And in other videos that I'm making for this series, we're going to be talking about what resorts that is best for your family and things like that. So definitely like this video if you liked it, and subscribe so you don't miss out on my other series videos. And until next time, thank you for watching.